Hi, Alberto. I'm Mariana.
Hi, Ariana. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I watched the movie last night. Congratulations on the premiere.
Thank you. Very exciting.
I loved it. Why do you think Dora has held on to her optimism and senses of adventure even as a teenager?
Why is she so optimistic? I think there's people who are like that. I don't know. I mean, Samantha Lorraine, who plays Dora. If you get a chance to meet with her, like she's Dora. She's just every morning she wakes up positive. I wish I were like that, positive and willing to do everything. And I think there's people like that, and I think Dora represents that kind of positivity and people who take no for an answer. And it's a good person to know, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. In this movie, compared to the first live action, it isn't satirical in the sense of that we're not making fun of her optimism and sense of adventure. What was it like going down that route compared to the first movie's route?
I feel that it was fun. It was like fun to take something that it could be a little cartoony, obviously because it's based on a cartoon, but like how do you ground that? It was like an interesting something that it was very important to me, I guess, because I tend to make movies that come from the heart, and I think for me it would have been a little bit inauthentic as a fan of the cartoon too to do something that was making fun of itself, and for me it's more genuine and grounded. I think you can still tell the same story and the same elements of the cartoon and make it feel realistic in a way.
Yes. How did you keep it grounded, but also still bring the breaking of the fourth wall element? How did you kind of balance that out?
I think that was really JT Billings, who's the writer. He did a really good job of like knowing what moments she was going to look into the camera and what moments didn't, so it didn't feel like forced or out of place. And I think also the acting again, Samantha Lorraine, who plays Dora, just nailed that. Like it's a hard balance to make it feel because like when you see the movie we go from the fourth wall to back to reality in like in with that cutting, so it felt more natural, and I think she did a really good job of that switch that I think that's what makes it pull it off, like someone who can do that.
Yes, we do have a lot of key elements. You've mentioned the cartoon, which I was a huge fan of, still am. You have a lot of key elements from the cartoon. We have Swiper, we have Boots, we have Map, we have Backpack. Why, when you were directing, how did you think of the design for Swiper and Boots especially?
Yeah, we wanted to make it super realistic, unlike the last iteration. Because the tone of the movie, or even the sets, we shot in the real jungle and we built all these sets, and when you see it, like the fire is real, the bugs are real, the waters, everything was real. So it felt natural to the aesthetic of the movie to have something more grounded, and especially in this movie, Boots is there all the time. She only talks to Dora, but everyone else can see it, and I think it was important for us to make it feel believable and just integrate to the beautiful location that we had, right? Like there was something that we wanted to keep not part of the environment, kind of like you were saying, and not some out of like, ooh, something obviously not part of the jungle has come to the screen. We wanted to keep it like, um, yeah, with that like in mind, like everything felt real. Yeah.
Yes. Why did you guys decide to not personify Backpack?
Because it's really hard to put personality to an object. Even map, it has some sort of like it's a little bit ambiguous if it's like magic or is it like her drawing the map, like it's like we wanted to keep it a little bit ambiguous, but like we didn't want to, it would be hard, but the Guri, who is the prop master who created the backpack in this case, he did put a note a little bit on it. If you see there's like two pins and then the zipper that closes it looks like a mouth, so we didn't, so when you look at from afar it could look like a mouth, but really like it was more realistic version, yeah.
Yes, but it still emphasized that Backpack is important to her and that Backpack has always been there. So, like, it's still significant. But why was losing Map so devastating to Dora?
We try to expand on that a little bit. At the
Hmm.
first 5 minutes of the movie, you'll see we expand on the TV show,
Hmm.
which was like how does she meet Boots and how does she get the map, and then in this one we added that her abuelo, the grandfather, actually gave her the map.
Hmm.
So there was not only that the map meant that having a map, she felt that she was an explorer. It had also a personal connection with her grandfather, which I think everyone can relate to. So we try to put even more weight over everything. And then she always uses, right? Like even when she meets Boots, gets lost and she needs, map to figure out where to go. And so we try to emphasize how much she needed that map.
Yes. Diego, we saw in like the TV serials, like Diego would come around, but they weren't as close because Diego like has his own adventures in those shows.
Yeah.
um, Diego is why is Diego so supportive of Dora, first off?
I think it comes from the community. Like in this version, they grew up together.
Hmm.
We had a beautiful, gigantic house hacienda where everyone, lives together. So probably grew up together. They were watching the TV show together, and they always supporting each other. And I think that's the reason he really supports her. He believes in her adventures.
But why is Dora kind of so unaware that she's not as supportive of Diego as she probably should be?
I think, yeah, I think because she was always thinking about adventures and, like I think it's part of the personality. It's one of those things that is like, she always has Diego, part of his, I would call it kid, that has backpack, has map, he has books, and he has Diego. And I don't think ever in her mind, Diego will leave, spoiler alert, I guess. So that I think that's the reason, she doesn't she's not aware. It's not she doesn't intentional. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like I'm an adventurer, and then she's not aware of that.
Yes. This movie is such an adventure movie. What was the hardest scene to shoot?
The tram chase for sure. Like when they're escaping the jungle world. As I mentioned before, we shot in Colombia, and it was like so hot. It was probably, I don't know, 115, 120 when we shot those scenes. And because we shot in a remote place in Colombia, people had never been on movies. So we needed to populate the park with like, I don't know, 400 or 500 extras for the tram to pass by. They'd never been on a movie set. So just the logistics of that, it was a huge amount of pressure. Plus, usually humongous blockbusters would shoot this in a month or two. We had, I think, 5 days, so that was a challenge. How to make it still feel big and cinematic as it came out, but then with the not the amount of days to pull it off. So
Yes. We've seen Dora as a very young kid. We've seen her as a teeny bit older kid, maybe a tween. We've seen her as a teenager. What do you think Dora would be up to as an adult?
good question. I think she would be what she would be. I think she would be like either a teacher or someone who shares her passion about history. Because I think what I love about Dora is like she's the only explorer in a way that explores her own culture, right? Usually is someone iconic goes to whatever it's supposed to go. Yeah, like Indiana Jones, something Brady, they go to a specific place, but it's not part of their culture. And I think Dora would be so proud, she's so proud of everything. And I think she would maybe run a museum or something that where she could still uh and I think she would be a mom, to be honest. I think she would want to have kids to keep that going. So she would be like a badass, whatever, museum runner or something like that, while also being an awesome mom to share the love with her kids.
Yes. I also feel like Diego would still be around. I feel like they would
Yeah.
just all raise their kids together. But Dora, it's been over 20 years with Dora. Why do you think Dora is still so popular and such an icon? She's like up there with Barney, SpongeBob, like the whole gang. Why do you think she has this longevity and is still going?
I think it's her energy and positivity. Like I think when you're trying to, unwind to watch something, or the kids they want to watch something, she's so engaging and positive, and then people love action, adventure, and explore things. And I think she easily invites you to have that experience. And and she's it's fun, like my kid was obsessed with Dora even before I got the movie. So when I got the movie, he was so happy. And I think whenever I watch him, like he loves answering the question that it's so engaging, and she's so charming, and then the songs are iconic, the characters are so fun, and I think that keeps you very, very engaged in this legacy.
Yes, awesome. Well, congrats on the premiere. I can't wait for part three. I'm speaking it into existence. But
Woo, I hope
yeah,
so.
I'm there. I'm ready. So I will talk to you then and on future projects.
Yeah, yeah, I really appreciate it. Nice meeting
Oh, no problem. Thanks again. Bye.
you.